Hello, fellow yappers. I'm Ruchi.
And I'm Shalini, and we're your hosts of Binge Yap Repeat.
We're two best friends who spend an embarrassing amount of time binge watching TV, and honestly, we just need to talk about it. If you're here, we're guessing you do too.
Fair warning, this is a spoiler-friendly zone. We will be discussing lots of spoilers. So, if you haven't watched the show yet, hit pause, go binge, and come back when you're ready to yap with us.
And now, it's yap time. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. Today we're going to talk about Temptation Island. So the premise of Temptation Island is, well, to be honest, if you're here, you should probably know this already, but just in case, Temptation Island is 10-episode reality TV series. It follows 4 straight couples who head to Hawaii and then are split up in order to move into 2 houses full of hot new singles. So 4 women move in with 12 guys in the girls' villa, and then 4 men move in with 12 women in the boys' villa. So in this episode, we're going to be talking about just episodes 1 through 5 because Shalini had a busy weekend and I have no life. So I'm
sorry, I could not catch up.
I did not watch the last episode, so we can definitely do that together.
Okay, great. So you're like a little bit ahead, but you haven't finished yet. So next episode of Binge Yap Repeat will be episodes 6 through 10.
Yes.
Cool.
And so I prevented myself from watching episode 10, so there's hopefully no spoilers. I'm going to do my best. Okay, so just like initial thoughts on when I was starting out, I thought that the premise of the show would be really similar to this other show that I had watched like a couple years ago called Deep Fake Love. So Deep Fake Love is a Spanish reality TV show. I think it was on Netflix, apparently July 2023. So not that long ago, but yeah.
Okay.
And so apparently the premise of the show is there's 5 couples, and I think one of them is queer. So they like separate the couples, very similar to Temptation Island, tempt them to connect with other people. The one difference though is that during the bonfire nights, when the couples are shown videos of their partners in Deep Fake Love, they create
deep fakes. Oh my God.
Like cheating basically. And then the other partners have to guess if it's a lie or not. Isn't that so toxic?
That's fucked up, dude.
Yeah, super fucked up. So that's what I thought Temptation Island was, but
oh my gosh. Okay, but Temptation Island is like a more straightforward premise, I suppose.
Yeah, like
but question,
like mind games, but only to a certain extent.
But with Deep Fake Love, was it easy as the audience to tell when a video was AI versus a true video, or did they like mix the footage and like it was harder to tell?
No, I feel like you couldn't really tell because also I don't think it was, I think it was like deep fake, but also like a guy was like actually doing the editing to make it look real. Like none of this AI shit that you see on Instagram with like men turning into spaghetti and dogs and stuff. Like it was not like that. An example was like 2 people would be talking in the pool, and then the reality is they were just talking. And then the deep fake would be something like they would start making out or something. Yeah.
I see.
So
I see. Okay, back to Temptation Island. Sorry.
Back to the reason why we're here. Okay, so we assigned ourselves pre-work. So after, like literally right after the couples introduced themselves in the first episode, we said, okay, pause the video right now and put down your thoughts on whether or not the couples are going to make it or break it. So, Shalini, what were your thoughts?
Well, before I start, I took these notes when we see them in the helicopter flying in, not when they are on the couches together and explaining their story. So I will caveat this by saying my answers changed a lot once we actually heard their stories. Okay, so Ashley and Grant is the first couple we see. They've been together for 1.5 years, and I said yes, that they will stay together, which I now regret. And I said that because she said, it sounds crazy, but if we can make it through this, we can make it through anything. And he seemed really humble about the fact that there are trust issues, but he really wants to be a better person, and he's cheated on her in the past. Oh, wait, that might have come out later. But yeah, basically, it seemed like they were being very realistic about what they had signed themselves up for and what they wanted to get out of it. So I was like, okay, neither person's really delusional, it seems. Maybe they have a shot. What did you put for them?
My thoughts were Ashley and Grant breaking up for sure, 1.5 years.
All right, well, it seems more
So
more
to
likely.
I normally do this though with reality shows. I don't know. I love games. So I really try to, upon initial impressions, like in Love is Blind, when they first meet, I'm like, pause. Are they going to make it or not? Because I feel like
Nice.
you can tell so much about a relationship just based on like initial impressions. So I think the reason that I said that they were breaking up for sure was there was a moment when Ashley and Grant were talking on the couch or something, and then Grant was kind of looking at her being like, right? Like kind of looking for affirmation, and Ashley just refused to look at him. And so I was like, ooh, that relationship is not in a good place right now, and it's not gonna work out.
So that moment was also, I think, when they talked about his cheating. And that's also when I was like, I changed my mind. They're not gonna make it. They're not gonna
I
make
see.
it.
Yeah.
Okay. Next couple, Brione and Shantae. They've been together for 1 year. I said no, they're not gonna stay together because Brione was like off the bat, he was like, oh, I have a lot of sexual desires and I'm just gonna try to like dampen those. And I was like, bro, that is not a recipe for success.
Yeah, I said, ooh boy, I think he wants to be with her, but I think he's going to cheat, breaking up.
Oh, that's so astute, Ruchi. That's great call. Great call.
Yeah, I think especially like knowing what we know now after end of episode 5, it's like, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Alexa and Lino, they've been together for 3.5 years. I said no because she wants to marry him, but he doesn't want to marry her. But I still say no now that I know them, but for very different reasons, I think, because they just can't get past their past trauma.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes.
I said, I really want them to make it, so I think they're going to do it because at least one, right? Right?
Right. Okay, and then Tyler and Taylor, dude, I said yes. What was I
What?
thinking? I said yes.
This is crazy to me. Like
I know. Okay, but to be clear, it was like when we met them on the plane is when I placed my bet. After we hear their conversation on the couch, I'm like, ooh, never mind.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yes. Because I said, he seems very committed to her, but he basically started dating her by cheating on his ex-wife, which I think we learn later. Oh, yeah, I wrote, oop, he cheated.
And oh.
Yep.
I said Tyler and Taylor, 2.5 years, breaking up in bold for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Oh, wait, so just to be clear, like the plane stuff was before they started talking, like on the couches?
Yes. So it was the very intro of the show is like you see them in the helicopter flying in, and then it cuts to them sitting on a log, and they're like, oh yeah, like, we really want to be here, like we're excited for this experience, blah blah blah. And then after all of those intros, then it goes to them all sitting on a couch and meeting each other.
Okay, I see. So did you amend it after the stories? What is your ranking
I
after
didn't officially amend it, but my unofficial, like, what I remember thinking is that I don't think any of these couples are going to make it. If anyone does, it's going to be Alexa and Lino, just because they seem the most committed to each other. And by that, I mean, Lino seems more committed than the other men.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It is crazy how uncommitted the other men are. Oh, actually,
Crazy.
this is a good segue. So I have a theory. Um, my theory is that Taylor and Tyler had already broken up beforehand, and like now they're just here on the show to like get clout or whatever. So maybe during the audition process they were together, but I think in between audition and the show starting, I think they had broken up.
Really? How come?
I think just like the way that they have already kind of given up on each other, the way that they talk about each other, I just feel like the emotions aren't there, or rather than being hurt about like actions that the other person is doing, they immediately go to anger and then they
Mm.
immediately go to, okay, well, I don't care. So I feel like
Mm.
they do that a little too quickly, which makes me think, I mean, maybe it's like one of those things where it's like, oh, maybe they hadn't officially broken up, but like emotionally they were not there. I don't know, but that's my theory.
Interesting. Okay, because I didn't think that just because at the second bonfire, after we see him sharing a bed with Kay and talking about like cuddling with Kay, she seemed so, when she was like, I'm so broken, everybody leaves me in my life. That seemed genuine to me and not affecting emotions to pretend like she's still with him. But
That's
yeah.
true. But I can also see her being someone who's like, when we broke up in that moment, I felt these emotions and I bookmarked them for now, which feels like really manipulative, but also
Mm.
like, I think, yeah, I think Taylor is that smart, honestly. I actually put in my notes, I was like, I can see Taylor being the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. I feel
Oh my
like she
god.
has the discipline and the intelligence to do that. That's the kind of person that she strikes me as. Very put together, very disciplined, and kind of hard on herself.
Mm.
Be a psychopath, but honestly, that's kind of what you need.
Interesting. Okay, that was not my read on her at all. I thought she needs some self-esteem. Like she's so low on self-esteem to the point where she's like, what else can I do to keep this man that keeps cheating on me? And it's like, no, girl, nothing. Like drop him. He doesn't deserve you. Why do you think he deserves you? And
Yeah.
so, yeah,
I
that's my
really,
main takeaway about Taylor is that she really, really needs some more self-esteem.
for sure. Yeah. I think like what I put in my notes is like once she fixes her self-esteem issues, she could be the CEO of Fortune 500.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All
But
right. I'm on board.
okay, like along those lines, I really liked Mark, the host. I really liked Mark's advice to her during that
Mm.
bonfire night, where she was just like, I'm broken. Everyone who has come to love me leaves me. Friends, family, romantic relationships, everyone leaves me. And it's because like I'm not worthy enough to keep me and like I would leave myself. And then he was like, do you know how awesome you are? And I was like, tell her how awesome she is. She needs to
Hey,
know.
that's true. I mean, it was good. Objectively, it was good words that he said. But I would have had the same reaction as her, which is like, you don't know me. Like, it doesn't do anything for me for you, a stranger, to be telling me I'm awesome because you're not basing that off of anything, you know?
Yeah, that is true. That is true. What do you think about Mark's advice in general?
Dude, I'm like, who hired this man? Is he a qualified psychologist? Like, I don't know. Maybe we should do some research on him. But yeah, who is he?
Well,
Oh my gosh, you
I'm
did?
glad you asked.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Okay, I didn't do that much research to be honest, but these are like two of my fun facts. Mark Wahlberg, the host, as you know, is actually not Mark Wahlberg with an H. So I know that
Right.
was
Not to be
probably
confused with Mark
not to be
Wahlberg.
confused with Mark Wahlberg. But Mark Wahlberg did host Antiques Roadshow. So
Oh, naturally. He's qualified to.
naturally he's good at appraising situation.
LOL. Oh my god. Okay, so he's just like a TV host. He's not
Yeah.
a psychologist.
No,
Because
not at
some of the
all.
things he was saying, I was like, okay. If a
Yeah.
therapist was telling me that, I would be like, oh, that's great. But now that I know that he's not a therapist, I don't know if I trust him.
Yeah, it's like someone someone who has been to therapy. That's kind of the vibes that he gave me. But I also think that maybe I'm biased because I felt like the stuff that he was telling the guys, like, I understand his whole role is to be supportive. And like, I think he was supportive to the women for sure. But like to the guys, he was trying to be a supportive person to the guys. And I was like, the stuff that they're doing is objectively horrible. Why don't you just say that?
I'm sure as the host, he's not supposed to bias their actions at all or influence what they might decide to do and more just like reflect. But yeah, I did like that at some point. I think it was to Brion when Brion was talking about like Shantae. Then Mark was saying, Brion, you keep talking about her. This should be about you. Or maybe it was the opposite where he was like, you keep saying me, but like, what are you doing for her? Or something like that. And I was like, okay, I'm glad he's keeping them in check a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Oh God, I hope this isn't a spoiler. Okay, if it is, it's like a very small one.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that we've seen kind of growth in both well, not Brian yet, but we've seen
I do think I've seen some growth in him a little bit, but say what you were gonna say.
Well, I was thinking Brian, yes, but also Alexa and Lino. There was also growth there. Because I think they both realized that their issues holding them back from progressing in their relationship were not relationship issues, but like individual issues that they needed to deal with individually. And so, like, I do think Mark helped them understand that a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I do think actually the experience on Temptation Island, as toxic as it is, did help them get there. So
yeah, I agree with that. I was gonna say about Brion, like he at the second bonfire, what we see of them is she's just talking about him and how like he says he wants someone who wants a threesome, but like also her, and then he reacts to that, and he's like, I like what she's saying that I need to work on. I do feel like I'm working on that here. Maybe, well, okay, he had a threesome, which is not good. Like he cheated on her. But then afterwards, when he had to choose someone for a date, he intentionally didn't choose anyone that he was already physical with because he wanted to separate. He was like, that's a recipe for failure for myself. Like, I'm going to choose to go with someone who I don't have a physical connection with yet, just so I can like, challenge myself more. And so I thought that was a level of introspection that I wouldn't have expected from him. I thought he was just going to like give in to his desires and be like, oh, I had a great night with Courtney, would love the good times to continue or something. But no, he didn't do that. So that surprised me. So I mean, he has cheated. That's already pretty bad. And I don't think they really have a shot of getting back together. I mean, I hope they don't. But that being said, I was surprised by his choices. And I do think in his own way, he is challenging himself.
I think this is just me who always assumes the worst of men, and I'm always thinking that they're manipulative and whatever. So maybe this is a toxic trait that is showing up in me right now. But there was one line that he said when he was in the confessions where he was saying that, like, yeah, I did have a threesome with Courtney and Alex, but I also want a threesome with Angel and Amaya. I want those sets. And so I felt like because he had done the one set, now he was working on the second set.
Oh God, you're right.
Yeah, so that was what stood out to me. The second thing is that, yes, I feel like Brian is full of contradictions. And so yes, I do think that he was like, oh, I want to explore the emotional aspect and like get better at expressing my emotions. But then he goes on this date with Angel where Angel is asking him hard and deep questions. And he was like, oh, I find this off-putting. I was like, bro.
Yeah, when that happened, oh my God, I loved that date. I was like, Angel, you're a queen. She's totally right. She's like, he says he wants this godly woman, but then he also wants threesome. Like he doesn't know what he wants. He does not know what he wants. And I'm so glad she said that, yes, she really held him accountable. And I was like, Yeon does not want a woman who's going to hold him accountable. He just wants to do what he wants. And like, he doesn't want a partner. He just wants a woman.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like, I think I feel so bad for Shantae because I also feel like she seems to be a godly woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
She seems to be like really nice and kind and genuine, but like to what extent does like being like godliness extend to forgiveness, extend to being a doormat? Because I do think Brian's cheated before. He's probably honestly cheated many, many times before,
Yeah.
if we're to be honest, if he's so sexual, right? He's got to be getting that from somewhere. And so how much of that does Shantae know, and how much of that does she feel pressured to be a kind and forgiving person and accept him for his flaws, knowing that his flaws are like completely morally orthogonal to
Yeah.
what he stands for?
Yeah. I would hate to be in her position. I want to know what she sees in him. I don't know if we've heard very much of that. Why she wants to be with him. I guess we haven't heard a lot about that about from any of the couples.
I have a
Except
theory. So my theory is I don't know what Shantae does for a living, but I do think that Brian pays the bills. I want to say because
really?
yeah, I think the whole reason that they met was Shantae needed some financial help or something.
Oh
And so, like,
yeah, that's
that's
right.
how they met. And then Brian offered financial help and apparently is good with numbers and good with money and stuff. So that's what I think. That's why I think Shantae is kind of financially dependent on him, maybe. And that's why she really wants this to work. And that's why she thinks that, I want this financial security and Brian is offering that. And so if he also wants to do all of these other things, I kind of have to grin and bear it, I
Yeah.
feel. And then she's also assuaging the cognitive dissonance by saying, this is what it means to be a Christian. I'm accepting my husband or my future husband for all of his flaws. And this is why I'm a godly woman or something. That's
Yeah,
my,
that's a really good theory because I can see it makes me so sad when there are power imbalances like that in relationships because then the person in power just feels like they have more free reign. And
yeah,
sometimes the other person who's benefiting from the other person just feels like they have to put up with so much. So sad.
yeah.
It reminds me of in Big Little Lies. Did you ever read that and or watch the show?
I think I watched the show, yeah.
Okay, so Celeste is played by Nicole Kidman. Her husband is abusive, and in the book, Leanne Moriarty does a really good job of explaining Celeste's reasoning, and she's like, "Yes, he hits me sometimes, but he's the best father. He gave me these two kids that in the book they say that it was really hard for them to get pregnant. So she's like, he's given me these two beautiful kids. He does so much for me. He goes to their school events with me. He has provided this amazing house, blah, blah, blah. Also in the book, she's the only one that's rich. It's not like the whole town. And then she catches herself almost saying, hitting me is worth everything else that I get from him. And then she catches herself and she's like, oh my God, what am I thinking? But yeah, I do think a lot of people think that way in relationships sometimes. They're like, well, I can put up with this inconvenience, quote unquote, because of everything else I get. And I don't know. It's just very sad.
Yeah. I think in those moments, it's hard to see the forest for the trees, I guess. And that,
Mm.
yeah. So I wonder, again, I don't know like Shantae's financial situation, but yeah. Also, way to go making an analogy. The two cinematic masterpieces in our lives, Big Little Lies and Temptation
Temptation.
Island.
Listen, I got the whole spectrum.
Nicole Kidman and Temptation Island uttered in the same sentence. Amazing.
I'm so sorry, Nicole Kidman.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, should
Okay,
we talk about some other couples?
yeah. Let's talk about Grant and Natalie.
Grant and Ashley or Grant and Natalie?
Grant and Natalie.
Okay, okay, all right. Ooh, getting right
Well,
into
like
it.
the whole trifecta. Grant,
Yes.
Natalie, Ashley, but specifically Grant and Natalie. So one thing that I laughed at actually was when Grant and Natalie they fuck in the shower and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and literally the next day Grant is on this hammock
Oh my
playing
God,
his
the
guitar.
guitar.
And that, like, it felt like AI generated lyrics, honestly, because he said, I
Oh,
quoted this.
yes.
Okay, let me find it. He says, I started something I should have never begun. And then ends the song and immediately turns to Natalie and is like, how's it going?
Okay, but to be fair, his conversation with Natalie on that hammock was like, I need to chill, right? Wasn't he
Yeah.
like, I low key regret what we did?
Yeah. So curious to see your thoughts on this because
Mm-hmm.
I wrote this down. I was like, honestly, this is par for the course with
Mm-hmm.
Grant. It feels like Grant had so much sexual tension with Natalie, and then once he finally acted on that sexual tension, he was like, well, now I know what it's like to be with this woman. And so
Yeah, the
now I'm like,
post nut clarity, as they say.
yeah, exactly. And he's like, now I'm over it. So I was like, what the fuck? Yeah, I truly wonder like
Ugh,
what Grant was thinking in that moment. Like,
I I hate Grant so much. I like surprisingly don't hate Brion as much as I hate Grant, just because I feel like Brion is at least real with himself, but Grant just is so delusional, and he's like, yeah, I don't think it's working out with Ashley. It's like, dude, it's been 2 days. You couldn't last 2 days before you're kissing another woman. Good
yeah,
God. And then, yeah, I what was your question?
but just like
I'm just talking
general
about how much
thought.
I hate him. Okay.
No, it just
Um
makes sense.
yeah, no. And then when the two new women came in and he was like, "Oh, I like want to make Natalie a little jealous." And then she's like not about it, and she's like, "If you want me, come get me. If you don't want me, don't." And then he's like, "Well, like she's so wise, and Ashley liked when I was a little toxic," and like just blaming Ashley, and it's like, I'm sure Ashley didn't want you to be toxic.
Yeah.
Ugh. Ugh.
Ugh. Freaking Grant is Walmart Andy Samberg over here.
Walmart Andy Samberg.
God.
Yeah, no, he was.
Yeah.
Oh my God, bad news. Just even from was it the first night that he and Natalie are like out really late, and you see the night cameras on them on the couch, and they're cuddling, and then they like go to the kitchen counter and are so close to kitchen. I was like, dude, you're done. This is
Yeah.
the first night. Like,
Yeah.
no, no.
That's like what I put too. I put in my things to discuss notes. I put Grant and Tyler are acting like they're just straight up dating. Like they're going to town, which I don't know. Maybe I mean it supported my theory that like Taylor and Tyler were kind of broken up already.
Mm.
Uh, but I feel like Grant just is an asshole. And may I take this moment to remind us that Grant is 28, Natalie is 22, and Grant has a child, a daughter.
Yes. Oh, I didn't realize the age difference was that much. Natalie's so mature, honestly.
She really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder what her story is. I wish we could like get to know
Yeah, I
a little bit.
know. It's tough not to feel some sort of way about Natalie just because obviously like we know Ashley, but I would say like this show and the plot aside, I do really like Natalie.
Yeah, I do like her. I mean, like, women supporting women. I like honestly all of the women in this show.
Mhm.
Everyone's got their flaws, but I truly detest the men. Like
Dude, yeah.
specifically the men in
I
the couple.
know.
Yeah.
The three men. I'm still okay on Lino.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Lino's fine. Lino's
he's
good.
fine. He's the only one that's actually trying.
And any time that he does get close, let's not even say towing, let's say looking at the line. He's very clear about it. He's like, hey, we're here because we want to see if we would be tempted. And you looked at me and we made eye contact. And like, I thought that was kind of attractive, I guess.
He's trying to manufacture feelings.
Only no.
Only no.
Yeah, he's a little cutie.
Yeah.
Okay. So one thing that I wanted to talk about was this line that Ashley says, and she says, I know Grant loves me. I just don't know if Grant loves me enough to respect me in this situation.
Mm,
So the reason I wrote this down is because I think for me, like love and respect are like so intertwined that like you can't have one, well, you definitely can't have love without having respect, right? So I feel like the fact that she knows Grant loves her, it's like maybe it's a different kind of love, right? Like I don't even know what it is,
mm,
but it's like it's you like if you love someone, you respect them. That's like part of it. Like that's like a major aspect of love. So I just like
yeah.
this sentence like boggled my mind.
Okay, yeah, I remember her saying this. I actually understood what she was saying, which is that I think in some situations or in some relationships, you might like someone or even love them, but like not be willing to give up XYZ for them. And like I so basically I think there is love. Not all love is unconditional. And I think that's what she's pinpointing here is like, is his love for me unconditional or is it conditional on certain things? And like if his love for me is not unconditional, then he might not do what or like he might not stay loyal to me in this situation. That's kind of how I interpreted it. And I've definitely felt sometimes with men, I'm like, not with men that I've been in relationships with, but men that I'm interested in or seeing. And I'm like, I think if he liked me enough, he would change this about himself for me or something. But if he doesn't like me enough, he's not going to change that. And so I'm not really interested in him. Um, and so I think I thought it had something to do with that, where I just don't know if he likes me or loves me enough to change this about himself. So that's how I interpreted it.
I see. Yeah, and I think that makes sense. In every relationship, there is a give and take about, this thing that irritates me is part of who this person is. And so who am I to like, ask someone to change for me? At the same time, being in love is also accepting of all of the things. And so there is just some things that you're like, yeah, I can accept this and I love you for who you are.
Yeah.
But if who you are is a cheating scumbag, do I accept you for who you are?
Oh God. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's interesting. I think this is one of the reasons why I watch reality TV is a lot of these relationships are so different from what I've experienced and what my friends have experienced. So seeing relationships like this between two people who I have never even seen in my life, to be very honest,
Mm-hmm.
is wild to me.
Yeah, the like blatant cheating and then deluding yourself into thinking it's fine or still faulting the girlfriend you cheated on for things she's doing when it's not even half as bad is so crazy to me. So crazy to me.
Okay, I did have another question. Speaking of bonfire night, what does bitch tendencies mean to you?
Oh, okay. Okay. I loved when she said that. I thought she was referring to, when um towards the beginning, they're all sitting, like the four men are sitting in a row, and then the four women are sitting next to them, and then each of them choose someone to go on their first date with, and then their dates stand behind them. When she chose that, what was he?
I think his name is like Chris or something.
That guy. So when she chose him, he said like I hated his one liner about like, I can stretch your girl out, and then
Yeah,
he was like she's already stretched out, which was so fucked up. Honestly, everyone was
yeah.
like, dude, what the fuck? And then instead of saying, oh, I shouldn't have said that, he was like, I didn't like what he said. That's a bitch tendency, I think.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that. I see that for sure. Yeah, I think there's also something to be said about how Tyler kind of like jumps from woman to woman, it feels. Like
Mm,
when he went on that first date with Kay, he was like, "Oh, this is actually like my first ever like first date
yeah.
because with everyone else we were like friends before and so we had hung out many times before. I think that happened with his ex-wife and it happened with Taylor. So he was like, "Oh yeah, this is my first official like first date."
Well, A, yes, he's definitely a serial monogamist and just does not take time to be single and figure out what he wants in life, probably. It reminds me of the hit song by Taylor Swift called Getaway Car, where she says, "You should have known I'd be the first to leave. Think about the place where you first met me." And so it's like, oh yeah, I guess he would be telling Taylor in this situation, like, of course I jumped from you straight to another woman because that's also how our relationship started.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, I don't know. I do feel like, I mean, I think there's like a part of me that feels bad for these men, honestly, like as much as I hate them and I hate their actions and I hate their choices. I do feel bad because one thing that is really clear, all of the women in their villa, they're having really emotional conversations, talking to these other guys from a guy's perspective. What do you think about this? And then
Mhm.
they're also talking to their other female castmates, being like, what do you guys think about this? How do you feel? And then they're really giving each other a lot of emotional support. And I feel like it's so different because when we look at the guy's villa, it's all emphasis on physical. So it's a lot of lust and boobs and ass and just a lot of skin, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. And so there's not a lot of conversations around like, the emotional needs of people. And so I think that is really sad. And, like,
Mm.
yeah, I think it feels like the only person who's really like journaling, which I love that they have given them journals. That is
Yes,
really
me
nice.
too.
They really only show like Lino journaling.
Do you think the
Yeah.
other men have touched their journals?
I think Breon has.
Mm.
Sorry, this might have been in a later episode, but there's an episode where he at least talks about journaling.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And then I don't think any of the other guys super
Ugh.
telling. Be more
Yeah.
introspective, men.
I mean, I also think if the men wanted to have more emotional conversations, the women would do that with them. They just don't want to do that. I don't
Yeah.
know. And I think in the women's villa, if our girls like felt more open to physical things, like I think the singles who are in each villa are just like feeding off of the energy of relationship people that they're in the villa with. And I think the single women are like, they're down, so let's fucking go. And then the men are like, okay, they just need a friend right now, so I'm gonna do that for them. So I don't know if I feel bad for the men. I think if they wanted to have those conversations, they could.
That's true. I think what I'm trying to say is it just feels like being emotionally open is not a part of their actions. And maybe they
Mm,
haven't been in environments where that was encouraged. So yeah, I don't
yeah.
know.
I mean, I definitely, in the holistic sense of men can't as easily open up their emotions to other people and feel comfortable talking about emotions. I do feel bad for men in that sense because I can literally turn to anyone in my life and say, "Can you please have a conversation with me about this thing I'm going through?" And I don't think a lot of men feel that way. So I do feel bad for men in that global sense, but in this specific scenario, I'm like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
also that reminds me, well, yeah, that reminds me of one thing that Grant said where he was like, I know I'm a good person. I know I'm a good person at heart. And this is after he showers with Natalie. And I'm like, dude, I don't think he's learned the lesson that you are the choices you make. And he thinks despite the choices he's making, he is a good person. I mean, I'm not saying he's a terrible person, but he just doesn't see that. He's like, I'm not a terrible person. I just can't help myself. And it's like, no, what makes you a good person is holding back from that. Yeah.
yeah. I totally agree. I think I actually had put this in my notes. Like both Ashley and Grant kind of double down this idea that oh, Grant is not a bad person. And he's like a good father and he well obviously is not a good boyfriend, but he's at least that. And as a person, as a human, he's a good human. And then again, this is like a toxic part of me that's now speaking. I feel like, is he though? You know what I mean?
From what we see, it's like,
I don't think like yeah, exactly. From the actions that I observe, I don't think he's a good person. He he doesn't speak that kindly about Ashley. He definitely disrespects her by going off and crossing all these boundaries. He kissed Natalie on the first date. Then he, showers with her, and crosses the ultimate boundary, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know. I just don't think that, okay, because you've never physically injured someone or because you've never intentionally killed someone, that's the only thing that makes you a bad person. And so
Right. It's like, what do you think makes you a good person, Grant?
yeah, exactly. And I'm like, no, you've intentionally hurt all these people. And even after he showers with Natalie, he basically goes to Natalie and is like, yeah, we need to pause because I regret this. And then she was like, I knew this would happen. And so he's playing with so many other people's emotions that I'm like, I don't know. I don't think this is a good person.
Yeah. No, for sure. It's hard to defend yourself when you're like openly cheating and
Oh, I had like a whole theme about double standards. Since we were like talking a little bit about the difference in the vibes of the two villas, but I
yeah.
wrote a couple notes here.
Okay.
So I think the difference in the vibes is very clear. From episode 1, the women's villa is despondent and the men's villa is party.
Yes.
Yeah, holy patriarchy, Batman. Yeah, so then the men are playing games out here. The fact that the women in this house are already feeling like Grant is playing games
Oh my
when
God,
he's
I know.
in a relationship with someone else. Natalie was like, oh, please, I don't play these kinds of games because he was trying to make her jealous or something. He's literally in a relationship with someone else.
With a
It's
completely different person.
like Natalie, there's a whole meta game going on. This is just one game.
Dude.
Oh my God.
I know.
Seeing
Oh
the
my
forest
God.
wilderness.
Okay, one thing about like the difference between the men's villa and the women's villa, I did find it really funny. Oh, actually, two things I found really funny. No, I'll get to the second thing later. But one thing I found really funny was like when Yaman, in the women's villa, he was like, the women loosened up a little bit tonight. And I was like, oh, they're finally having fun. I thought that was really cute.
Yeah, I also thought that was really cute. And then also, when the two new guys joined the villa, they were like, we're gonna bring the energy, we're gonna bring the games. And I felt like that was a really fun night for them. So I did really enjoy how the two guys brought the energy.
When Ashley was like on the table taking shots, I was like, you go, girl. And then, oh yeah, seeing all four of them in the room with the camera when she's like laying down across them, I was like, oh, they're having fun.
They are like, finally they're having fun.
Finally.
Yeah. And they were like, oh, this guy's pretty hot. This guy's really cute. I was like, oh, yay.
I know, so sweet.
Yeah.
And still not problematic.
Not problematic. Yeah. What was your second thing?
No, my second thing was that I just laughed so hard. This is completely unrelated, but I laughed so hard when at the very end of episode 5 when someone from the women's villa enters the tent and then the light goes off. And then Brion wakes up and he's like, oh, someone's fucking. Like all the other dudes were so confused what was happening. He's like, oh, someone's fucking. And then he has the realization, he's like, this is what they felt like last night.
Also wrote that down. I was like, God, it was like you could see like the wheels, like, so this is how they felt last night. It doesn't feel good to be woken up at 1 a.m. like this. Oh my God.
Oh, like, so funny.
That's what it took to like finally be empathetic to someone. Oh my
God. Okay, yeah. Patriarchy corner for a second. Like the men clearly are not thinking about their girlfriend's perspective at all, and like all the women are thinking about their men's perspective.
Yes.
Which is so sad to me. And yeah, it's sad that the men they're only thinking about themselves. And they think that their girlfriends will just be there for them if they want them. And that's also how the women are thinking. It makes me so sad. Like women are not thinking from the perspective of like, Actually, the only thing is that Ashley, when we meet all of the single girls for the first time, and they're standing in their red bikinis in front of the couches, Ashley's like, if you can take him, you can have him. That was the
Yeah.
only thing where I was like, okay, Ashley, yes, I totally agree with that perspective. But otherwise, it just seems like the women are waiting around hoping their men will stay with them, and it's just so sad to me.
For sure. Oh my God, so heartbreaking. I do feel like Ashley is ready to get over him though, which
Mm-hmm.
I like. Um, there was one thing that she said where she was like, the bright side of this is seeing Grant cheat on her, she felt relief, right? And she
Mm,
was like, well, now I know, like, this thing that I was scared of happening is like happening, and I know that it's happening. And so now I can fully let go of this relationship and I can now start to have fun and stuff and start to explore actual other connections in this house.
yeah.
So I thought that was, like silver lining, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I'm glad she's like loosening up a little bit and allowing herself to have fun.
And then one more thing about double standards. I actually think this culminated in the first eliminations, right? So it was really interesting to see that the girls were like, "Oh, I just want someone to like be there for me and emotionally support me, and I'm not interested in anything romantic, and I
Mm-hmm.
want to eliminate this guy because he is giving me romantic vibes, and I don't want that
Oh
right
yeah.
and that's why I want to eliminate this person." And on the flip side, the guys were like, "Yeah, let's get rid of Reba because like she's just not fun enough."
Like she's not even trying.
Yeah. And I was also very surprised that they got rid of Mia because I thought Mia was
Mm,
getting a lot of camera time and she was being emotionally supportive to a lot of these men and
yeah.
confirming or like rejecting their choices, basically. And
Well,
so I thought that that was a crazy double standard that the men in the women's villa were getting
mm-hmm.
eliminated for the things that were propping up the women in the men's villa.
Mm. That is
Yeah,
true.
that was
I guess my
crazy.
only counter to that is that I think the reason they eliminated Mia is the same reason that the women eliminated the men in the women's villa, which is that because Mia, remember, she goes up to Lino and she's like, I like really wanted you to choose me for the date. You're not affirming me at all, blah blah blah. So like he decided to send her home. I think that's the same reason Alexa sent Green Eyes home. I forgot his name.
Yeah, I
Because she's
also think
like he's coming on too strong. I'm like getting too much from him. Like he's too much. And I thought that was so. I think Alexa and Lino decided to send those two people home for the same reason.
they're so in sync. They're so in sync.
They are, dude. If anyone's gonna make it, it's them.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, so end of episode 5, we have
Mm,
a cliffhanger where someone goes into what is it called? Temptation Haven on the girls in the girls' villa. Who do you think it was?
dude, it's got to be Ashley and her man, right? Her new man, mullet
Yeah, that's
man.
what I think
I
too.
forget his name.
Yeah,
Hudson.
Danny, I think.
Oh no, where did I get Hudson from?
I don't know, but I think it's Danny.
It's Danny. Okay. Yep. Yep. Oh yeah, it's Danny. Um. Yeah, I think it's got to be Ashley and Danny, right?
There are really only two options. It's either Ashley and Danny or Taylor and
Yemen.
probably Yemen. Yeah, but like, their relationship felt very much like a emotional type thing. It wasn't in the physical realm yet. Ashley and Danny at least was like getting there.
Yeah, I liked their sensual. What was it called? Um,
The yoga thing.
sensual. Yeah, that thing. That was
Yeah.
so interesting. I was like, oh, Ashley.
Yeah. And
I'm
I
so
also
happy for you that you feel safe with him.
yeah, exactly. I loved what she said when she was like, I am so glad I took you because there is no one else in the house that I would have felt comfortable doing this with.
Yeah, that was so sweet.
Yeah.
One thought I just have that I just remembered. You know how all the boyfriends in the men's villa, anytime they went on a date and they came back, they're like, "Dude, that was the most fun date I've been on in so long," and stuff like that. And I was just thinking, you shouldn't be comparing this to your last date with your girlfriend. You should be comparing this to your first date with your girlfriend. Why are you it's not, you're comparing apples and oranges right now. Like a
That
steady
is so
relationship is never going to compare to like the first feelings of excitement and spark.
Yeah, that's so true. It's almost like they just forgot like those initial feelings of when they first met
Yeah.
their girlfriend and why they started dating to begin with.
Yeah. Ugh.
That's the end of episode 5, and so we have 5 great episodes left ahead of us. For me, I only have one. I'll probably watch that tonight, honestly. But I'm excited to discuss the endings with you. So, yeah, we'll do episodes 6 through 10 in the next episode. All right. So now it's time for our new segment that we name is still TBD. Currently watching, now binging corner. You get the idea. It's that time in the podcast episode where Shalini and I talk about what we're currently watching outside of the podcast. So Shalini, what are you watching these days?
Well, as you know, and as listeners know, I am always watching Gilmore Girls, so as an update on that, I am now into season 2, towards the beginning, but yeah, in season 2 already. And I also started Sex and the City, which I've never watched ever. It's just one of those shows that passed me by and I never really took the time to watch it, but I am a few episodes into that and I'm enjoying it so far. I definitely thought that Charlotte was played by Katie Holmes until like 4 episodes in when I realized this came out like the same year as Dawson's Creek, where Katie Holmes was a child. So then I looked it up and I was like, oh, these are just 2 completely different women that just happen to look a little similar. So anyway, that's my Sex and the City update.
Nice. Wait, I'm curious as to what you think about Sex and the City. So, Sex and the City is also one of my background shows. Um, Sometimes I feel like it didn't really age well. There are some episodes where I'm like, oh, that's kind of crazy how this is really relevant today. But I think especially in the first season, there are episodes where I'm like, ooh, this is not good. One episode that comes to mind, I think it was episode 2, where she is talking to one of her male friends and he apparently has filmed all of his sexual escapades and
Yeah.
then they watch it together. I'm like, this is disgusting. How is this okay? This is sexual assault, right? Or I mean, I don't know what it's a crime, whatever it is.
It seems to be a crime, especially because she's like, do these women know they're being filmed? And he's like, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, it was like gross.
Yeah. So definitely, I agree. Some stuff has not aged very well, but for the most part, I do think it was refreshingly ahead of its time for, women reclaiming their own sexuality and like taking their romantic life into their own hands and not just like depending on what men want from them. So I think I have been trying to view it from that angle and it's been fine, but for sure, if this show came out today, people would not respond well to it in so many ways.
I mean, it kind of is still coming out today with the new reboot, right? And just like that.
Yeah, but I'm guessing, I mean, I haven't seen that, but I'm guessing that they changed the tone of a lot of the stuff that they talk about in the
I
show.
watched the first episode of And Just Like That, and I really did not like Carrie. But I think maybe that's the point of it, is that the tone of the season of this new reboot is that Carrie kind of feels like she can kind of do the same stuff that she did when she was in her 30s, 40s, whatever. But now that it's a different generation, she found that she's maybe not the icon that she once was. I'm not really sure, but I remember I just like I didn't like it. So I didn't watch further than the episode 1, but maybe listeners, let me know if I should give it a second chance.
Yeah, I do feel like reboots like that are hard because there's been such a long break since the original show, and the original show is beloved for so many ways that are just not reproducible. I feel like that this is also how I felt about the Gilmore Girls reboot, A Year in the Life, where, they restart the story 10 years later and the actors are the same, and they're trying to pretend like everything's the same except for that time has passed, but it just feels so different. I don't know. Yeah, I almost don't even consider that canon.
Whoa, hot
Yeah, it feels
take.
just like fan fiction or something.
Whoa. Yeah, I mean, at that point, maybe, yeah, maybe it is, because it's not only that so much time has passed, but the world has changed in so many different ways, and even the actors themselves have changed in so many ways. It's not just
Yeah.
a matter of, oh, imagine Rory, but plus 10 years. What do you think happens to Rory? It's like,
Right.
well, no, like your entire world has changed in such drastic ways that it's kind of hard to mimic that in this created world, if that
Yeah.
made sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that makes sense.
Yeah. Are you far enough along in Sex and the City to identify with a character? Are you like, oh, I'm such a
Yeah.
Samantha?
Yeah, I think I'm some combination of Charlotte and Miranda.
Yeah.
Are you saying yeah because you are, or yeah because I am?
I can see that. I think also I felt that way too.
Okay.
But then I was like, maybe I do have a little Samantha in me.
You have Samantha in you for
Oh,
sure.
stop.
Yes, you def do.
I'm sexually free. No, just kidding.
You got a little sexually free Samantha in you. But no, just her confidence and her flirtation skills. I don't know. There's a lot about Samantha that I see in you.
Gosh, thank
Yeah.
you. Wow, what a compliment. Wow. But yeah, I see the Charlotte and Miranda in you as well. There are aspects of you that are kind of traditional, but then you also are a very modern working woman who's like, I just want to get stuff done.
Yeah. Yeah. I just watched the episode where Charlotte finds this seemingly perfect man who has a golden retriever, and then they hit it off really well, blah blah blah, and then anyway, she ends it because like she doesn't want to give him a blowjob, and then he's like, "Oh, you're really gonna give up me for because you don't want to do a blowjob?" And she's like, "Yeah." And then she just leaves.
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. I just started The Devil's Plan. And when I say I just started, I mean I finished the 4-hour-long episodes that are currently out, and I'm anxiously awaiting for the rest of the season to be released.
Whoa, tell me about Devil's Plan.
Okay, so Devil's Plan Season 2, Devil's Plan Season 2 came out. It's called Devil's Plan The Death Room, I think. And so what it is, it's kind of like a Korean game, like reality game show, but what they do is they basically play these super complex games that also have like a meta game around it. And so the object is that every day they play a main match, and then whoever loses the main match, the half that loses the main match goes into a prison match. And then out of the people who play the prison match, one person gets eliminated. So there's 14 players at the beginning of this season, and then they get eliminated until at the end of the season, only one person wins the grand prize. But along the way, there's not only a main match, but they all live together, and there are like secrets in the living rooms, in the prison areas. There are secrets everywhere and like hidden matches that they can do to win in-game meta currency, which are called pieces. So it's super interesting, and they have such a star-studded cast for season 2. So the first guy that they introduced is Kyu Hyun, who is I don't know if you know Singles Inferno.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he's one of the hosts for Singles Inferno.
Oh.
Yeah. So I think if I showed you a picture of him, you'd be like, oh, that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's there. He was also formerly a member of Super Junior, which is this K-pop band from like a while back, but
Fun.
yeah, I didn't know that he was a member of Super Junior. Then they also have Lee Se-dol, who is the really famous Korean Go player who beat Google DeepMind.
What? Wait, what's Go?
The game, you know, the black and white pieces.
Nope.
Okay. So with Google DeepMind, they first put Google DeepMind against the chess player, like whatever the highest level of chess player is, and then Google DeepMind won because in terms of chess, there's actually very limited movesets. Like, it's a very finite moveset. And so they're like, okay, if this is possible, then like Google DeepMind can win this by analyzing all of the different movesets and then like doing a path traversal, whatever, to like get the best move and win the game. And that's what happened. But then the next game that they chose after chess was Go, because Go actually, I think, has infinite like ways that you can move your pieces around, because there's so many more pieces. The move set that you can make is way higher compared to chess. So they're like, okay, it worked for this finite piece, let's see if it works for this infinite type move set type game. So they put Google DeepMind against the world famous Go player, who is Lee Sedol, and he won. Yeah. So it was huge, both in like the AI computer science world, where it was like, oh, Google DeepMind is still not yet at the point where it can, you know, beat a human Go player. But it was a huge win for also Korea, because they were like, oh, this guy was on like the world stage of Go, like pushing the bounds of technological innovation, and he freaking won.
Wow. That's so cool.
Yeah, so they brought him in as a contestant, which is crazy.
Fun. What a eclectic group of
I know. And the other player that I want to highlight is Justin Min, who is an American actor. Actually, he went to Cornell, and he plays Ben Hargreaves in The Umbrella Academy.
Oh, okay. I haven't watched The Umbrella Academy, but I know about it. Yeah.
You've probably seen him in some of the trailers. I actually don't know if it's Marvel. I think it was just like a Netflix Marvel type show, but I don't think it's. Yeah, it's a Netflix show. It's kind of like Netflix X-Men, I think.
Okay.
Viewers, don't come for me if I said that wrong. Yeah, so I've been so into that show, and basically all of the different contestants are all very they are like high achievers in many ways. There was the Miss Korea winner. She also like went to a really like prestigious university and studied biochemical engineering and stuff. Like, she was there as one of the contestants. So it was really cool. I'm so excited to watch it. You should definitely watch it.
Okay. Interesting. The description is kind of giving Survivor meets Mario Party.
I think yes, but if the Mario games were like Mafia plus, like, it is intense mind games, and you definitely have to form alliances, and like the stuff that people do in advance of the games is crazy. You can't just play the game. So that's another twist on it.
Oh. Hey, all right. And this is on what platform?
And it's on Netflix.
On Netflix. All right. I will give it a try.
The other thing that I'm watching is not, well, I guess it's not currently watching, but I did watch the Four Seasons movie that came out.
Okay, yeah. What did you think?
I thought it was good. I definitely liked the TV show a lot more. I can see why the TV show was so different from the movie for a lot of the reasons that we already talked about. So I think the winter season was a lot different. It didn't end with Nick dying like we talked about, but I think one thing that they mentioned in the movie was that that couple, the 6 people in the couples, they all met actually through the women. So I think that is like even more goes to show that, you know, if they met through the women and it's because all of the women were friends, and then Anne and Nick break up, there is no way Nick would be invited to any of those vacations. So I actually think it makes sense that they made that decision in the TV show to say, oh, Nick is going to make Ginny plan the vacation so that everyone is forced to go. And then in the winter season, Anne gets her turn, because in the movie, Anne, like, we don't see Anne again until the fall season, where she has to be there because it's parents' weekend for the college.
So in the movie, the women are the OG set of friends, but then when Nick and Anne get divorced, they stick with Nick?
Yeah.
I'm upset.
Yeah. But it's not like super clear because they had a conversation, they like joke about it in the opening scene where I think it's Danny who says something like, "Oh yeah, we all met because this guy like came to get his tooth filled." Oh, Danny's a dentist in this movie. And then they're like, you're so wrong. We all met because of like Anne and I met in a photography class and that's how we're friends. And Anne and I were friends way before Kate's husband Jack came to you as a patient. It was like that kind of thing.
Okay. Well, yeah, I agree then. I'm glad they made that change in the show so that it made a little bit more sense.
I think the other thing that was interesting is that when Nick divorces Anne, he is 43. And so it's like way younger, right? And then in the TV show. And I think it was Danny or Jack, I can't remember who, says to him, "Nick, you're 43. You're going to start a new family at 43." And I was like, like sometimes that's when people start their first family.
40's the new 30.
Yeah, seriously. So I thought that was really
times
funny.
have changed. Wow, that movie came out almost 43 years ago.
Everything's coming up as 43. Yeah, so I thought that was interesting that they definitely revamped a lot of stuff to make it way more relatable, way more modern, and they did it in a really relatable way. So, yeah, I thought it was good.
Cool.
Well, I thought it was all right. The TV show is definitely way better.
Yeah. They took something that was good and made it perfect. 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Thanks for yapping with us. If you loved this episode, have some hot takes we missed, or if you've got a show you're dying for us to binge next, follow us on socials. We're at Binge Yap Repeat.
Until next time, happy binging!